Bonjour.
Welcome to So French, the show about the twists and turns, intrigues and insights to all things French.
Almost every 2 weeks, we select the best, most interesting and fascinating of French news stories, all brought to you from a studio in the heart of Paris. And sorry we have left you in the cold in February, but here we are again. My name is Stefan de Vries.
And my name is Sara Bertilsson.
This week, published in 24 countries and translated into 21 languages, the French President Emmanuel Macron shifts into top gear ahead of the European elections in May, with an op-ed calling for a European renaissance. But did it bite? We'll tell you more.
And to turn back the clock or not turn back the clock? That was the question recently asked to the French, and their verdict, well, summer for everyone, all year round, apparently.
Yeah, that sounds nice, but who's going to pay? Well, there is another new tax in France, and this time the big internet companies, they will have to pay.
Now first, this week we saw a surprise conviction, actually, of France's top cleric in the Catholic Church. His name is Philippe Barbarin. He was accused of having covered up sexual abuse in his diocese, and he was convicted for this.
Yeah. And it was quite a controversial court case because he denied all responsibility. And of course, it was one of the first times that the Catholic Church had to reply to accusations of child abuse. So this Barbarin was not personally involved in child abuse, but he did know about it. And he has now been convicted to 6 months of imprisonment.
Suspended
imprisonment, indeed. But of course, it's far more than just these 6 months. It's very symbolic and very important judgment.
Yes, it is, and he is a cardinal here in France. So he's the third cardinal in the Catholic Church over the last couple of months. Having been convicted, we had the cardinal, the American cardinal, that was even defrocked by the Vatican not so long ago, and the cardinal in Australia, who was also been convicted of in those cases of child abuse. But Philippe Barbarin, so he was accused of having learned about sexual abuse. He apparently then actually contacted the Vatican back at this was in the 1980s and 1990s, and got the instructions to only actually move the priest who was in charge or was accused of this abuse, and did not contact the authorities. And that is what this case is about, because then later the victims actually stepped forward and pressed charges and said that, he was aware of what happened. He didn't do what he should have done.
No.
And it's an important step.
Very important, because, of course, apart from the child abuse, which is, of course, a scandal, the biggest scandal is even the fact that the Catholic Church covers up almost all cases. Many people have come forward in the last couple of months, but most of those cases are already very old, so they cannot be prosecuted anymore. And this judgment is in many aspects also a first. Actually, the prosecution asked for not to punish the Barbarin.
Yes, that's quite so. Yeah, so the judges went against even the prosecutor, who didn't ask for any sentence.
Yeah. Now that happens now and then, but it's quite exceptional. And the victims group says that the conviction is a major victory for child protection, and it could also mean that there are more cases to come. That more people will step forward, tell what happened, and then maybe there will be more court cases.
Well, the thing is, in France, there is what's called an independent commission in charge, put in place by the church, must be said, to actually investigate the accusations of child abuse within the Catholic Church here in France. However, their report is not expected until 2021, I think, and it's not clear even then what this report actually will lead to, because it's not will it lead to any prosecutions? Will it need to, will it have any consequences? That is unclear at the moment. So things are moving forward even in the French Catholic Church, but not at a very high speed, I would say.
Now, Barbarin, he said in reaction that he will go to see the Pope in the next couple of days, hand in his resignation. But the priest who is accused of child abuse is the priest Bernard Prenat. He has confessed of abusing Boy Scouts in the 1970s and 1980s, and he will be tried separately later this year.
Now, the European elections are only a little bit less than 3 months away.
Yeah,
end of May.
May 23 till May 26. Yeah.
Looking ahead, Stefan?
Yeah, it's always interesting. And I think they're even more interesting now than 5 years ago, because suddenly everybody's talking about Europe the last couple of years. So much is at stake. But still, many campaigns are very national. Mostly national topics dominate the European elections. Many people stay at home as well.
Yeah, they rarely, have a massive turnout.
Yeah. Apart from Belgium and I think Austria, where voting is obligatory. But apart from that, the last time in Sweden, France, and Netherlands, less than 50% of the people turned up. So, interesting elections. And I think we can say that this week, the campaign, at least in France, more or less started, right?
Yeah, because someone is trying to, make this a more pan-European story and not just a national one. And that is the French president, Emmanuel Macron, who published a letter to the Europeans in 22 languages.
Yes.
In all European countries, dozens of papers all over Europe published this.
In all languages except Irish and Maltese, and that was seen as a little diplomatic mistake.
Was there a reason for this?
No, I don't think so. But
they just didn't have the translator.
Yeah, probably. Those are official languages of the European Union, and indeed they are small languages. But apart from those two, all the other official languages, the letter or the article appeared also on the website of the Élysée, of course, and many national newspapers throughout Europe. And it's a way for Macron to make this European election really national or transnational.
Make Europe great again. Isn't that a little bit what he is trying to say? He's
absolutely.
calling for a European renaissance.
Yeah, a bit presumptuous, because it also means that we're more or less dead. So now we have to be reborn. But he does a lot of propositions. Many of them are already being negotiated or being designed. So it's not a lot of new stuff, but at least he tries to dominate the debates. I think in the other countries, the campaign hasn't really started yet. So it's a smart move. Of course, there are no leaders in Europe now, especially since Angela Merkel, more or less, everybody knows that she will be gone in quite soon. And
he's interested in taking her spot as the European sort of leader.
Absolutely. But, I think he lost a lot of credibility. Of course, when he was elected, almost all over Europe, people were relieved that it was at least not Marine Le Pen, but also somebody who clearly, during his campaigned in favor of Europe. There were even European flags at a campaign meeting, something you actually never see, not only in France.
Didn't you see hymn of Europe when he entered the Louvre for his, victory speech?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that was also very daring. So I think this honeymoon lasted a couple of months, maybe a year. And now, of course, France's economy is not doing well. We have the problems with the yellow vests.
But was there anything you think in his propositions? I mean, he was pretty tough on, I would say the axis of the anti-European countries, and I would say many of those being in eastern part of Europe, notably Viktor Orban, for example, and
Italy,
of course. But are there any real suggestion that you found interesting and even could be useful for really rebuilding Europe?
I really had trouble to find out if he is really in favor of more European, a real European Union, so more integration, or that he really prefers to, that the countries, the nations negotiate together, so more bilateral. And I found it a bit vague, and I also think that's intentional, because he of course wants to appeal to voters from the right, but also the voters from the center. So for instance, he wants tougher border controls, which of course pleases people on the right. But he also said that he wants a more social Europe. Now, how? That's not really clear, which of course appeals to the left. So once again, he tries to please all sides.
I was having a feeling a little bit that he is appealing quite a lot to this idea of a European at different speeds, with a closer integration of sort of the core countries that have the shared currency, for example, that they could move ahead with a stronger collaboration, and leaving sort of the others who are less interested a little behind. I mean, it's not, as you say, it's quite vague, but it was a little bit the feeling that I got when I read it, that he's open to this idea of not everybody is moving forward at the same time. Yeah,
I think that's pretty pragmatic and a good way of seeing Europe, because of course with the euro and many other topics, it's already a Europe of several speeds. And I think what has changed though is that since Brexit, it is very hard to find people in Europe who want to leave the European Union. Even Marine Le Pen.
Well, the example isn't very tempting, you must.
No, exactly. And so that's, in a way, Brexit has done some good, for the European Union. And even Marine Le Pen, who always campaigned of leaving the European Union, leaving the euro, she now realizes that her voters just don't want that. So
the Frexit debate died.
Absolutely. And the same in other countries. And so Marine Le Pen, who is not a candidate, but of course her party will do pretty well in the European elections, she now talks about a Europe of nation states working together within the context of the European Union. She doesn't want to have a closer union or a federation, but she doesn't talk about leaving the European Union anymore. So I think that's what Brexit has taught us, that European Union after all is not so bad at all. Macron is a bit more dramatic, because he says that never Europe has been more threatened than today, or in danger, since the Second World War. Big words. I think he forgets the Cold War we had also with Russia, of course. But he tries to appeal to people who think that we're under threat and that Europe is the only answer. But how exactly things should be organized, that's still.
He's proposing a lot of consultations. It's a very French way of, let's just talk a little bit more.
Absolutely, exactly what we need. And more. Let's make some more agencies and more institutions.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's also a very French way. But at least.
The debate is open.
The debate's open, and he takes the leadership, even though he's not a real leader anymore. But at least he dares to speak out. And although I don't agree with everything in this article, I think it's still brave to step forward and to say what you think. Of course, now we're just a little over 3 months before the elections. Maybe other European leaders will respond in it. Maybe Salvini in Italy, maybe Orban. With other articles, maybe even here in France.
We already were waiting eagerly to have the response, because we have been alerted that Les Républicains' Laurent Wauquiez is going to make his own op-ed regarding Europe very soon. And
Laurent Wauquiez, he's now very on the right wing of the Conservatives. He has been a Minister of European Affairs under Sarkozy, so only a couple of months, but, it would be interesting to see what he says. The opposition was not really negative, but not positive either. The ones who were really positive about this op-ed were the Republicans, because they said, well, we should have written this text. So that already shows how Macron is trying to appeal to the right. But whether Macron's propositions are the right ones, I don't know. Do you think?
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, well, we'll discuss European elections without a doubt in the next couple of months again here on So French.
Vous écoutez So French.
You are listening to So French.
Now, there's another area where France is also trying to take lead in Europe, and that is when it comes to making the big companies and big tech companies, the so-called GAFAM, some say, pay taxes.
Yeah, there's a new tax in town. It's even called the tax of the 21st century by the French finance minister Bruno Le Maire. He announced this week the GAFA tax, as you just mentioned, and that's an abbreviation the French often use for Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon. GAFAM is then Microsoft.
Microsoft, as well.
All American companies. But they have one thing in common. They're very big in France, earning a lot of money, and they pay not a lot of taxes. So now Bruno Le Maire's proposition will be to impose a 3% revenue tax on these companies and also other digital companies with global revenues above 750 million euros and above 25 million euros in France. And Le Maire told reporters this week that he is building the tax of the 21st century and that he hopes to restore fiscal justice. Now, why is he doing this now, actually?
Well, the fact that the non-taxation of the GAFA companies is a big public issue here in France. It's something that has been debated and criticized, and talked a lot about in both in media, but also in normal real conversations between people. Then there's a great upset about the GAFAs not paying enough taxes. They're making a lot of money, but they are not participating to building up the society as considered by many here.
And
so,
I think not only in France, right? Also in other European
also in other European countries, of course. But especially here in France, with the Yellow Vest movement having sort of put the country to a bit of a standstill over the last couple of months, this is one of the demands from the Yellow Vest protesters that make those who make the most money pay and participate to build up this country.
Yeah. Now Bruno Le Maire wanted to do this actually European wide because these international companies, it's very difficult to pin them down to one single country. They're of course using that with all kinds of legal constructions, but of course morally very debatable. Now, France thinks that the European Union is not going quickly enough. And of course, there's some European countries that don't want this tax. So now France decided to go alone. But Bruno Le Maire still hopes that it will be some kind of international tax. So I think there are some other countries thinking about it, like Britain and Spain, because it's of course a real issue. All these companies earning a lot of money and not paying any taxes.
Yeah, and it's a whole issue, when we talk about social justice and, everybody needs to pay their fair share. And, we of course, seeing these big companies and being a symbol as well for this new world order is, of course, something that, many people see as very, very unfair. So I think it's an important question. The problem is, of course, how to construct these new kind of taxation structures. It's a new, it's a new world, and it's dematerialized. Their products it doesn't exist in a physical world. So of course it asks completely new questions.
And governments are always too late because these companies
always one step behind, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. And now some countries like Germany, they are afraid that because this is mainly hurting US companies, that the USA will impose similar taxes on European countries. So that's why that's one of the reasons.
Especially on the German car industry.
Yeah,
that is what they're worried about, that there would be some kind of countermeasure. Yeah. And, Germany being the big car producer in Europe, they would be the the hardest hit by such
yeah.
action. So, of course, I think that many are saying that this, is a first step, and it's far from the ideal solution. But it's a way of trying to start elaborate some kind of new taxation in this new world.
Yeah. And in a statement, a Google spokesperson said, "We always pay all of the taxes due and comply with the tax laws in every country we operate around the world." And that's interesting because they're probably, everything they do is legal, but there's so many loopholes and so many creative constructions that effectively they pay very little taxes. And so this is the whole point. It is legal, but it's not very moral. Now, Sarah, it's almost the end of the winter. It was not a cold winter, but it's always too long. It's dark days. And so in 3 weeks from now, we can put the clock forward again, and then it's summer. Yes. At least on the clock. More than 2 million French citizens, they have taken part in an online consultation over daylight savings time. It's being used all over Europe. Twice a year, we put the clock 1 hour forward, and then in October, 1 hour backwards. And more than 80% of the respondents here in France, they said that they wish to end these twice annual change between winter and summertime. And what did they choose?
Well, they choose to actually end the winter time.
Yeah.
Yes. Because we all want summer all year round, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not on, it's not only them. Well, it was, I think about 84% said that they wanted to end this system. And it's not only the French, actually, because consultations like this, there was a pan-European consultation last year that was held, and almost 60% of those participants in that poll said that they also want to stop turning clocks back and forth. And the question is, of course, we can agree that we should stop switching and turning back the clock, but the question is, summer or winter? People are still a little bit divided about this.
Well, I would say instinctively, I would say summertime, because we have very long evenings in Europe in the summer. That's very nice. You can sit outside and have a drink. But actually, it's not so good for your body, right?
All those drinks, no, definitely not good for your body.
That's another problem I have to deal with. No, I meant, of course, the summertime. So long days, and especially, of course, in Northern Europe, where sometimes it doesn't get dark before midnight. And but it's not very healthy, is it?
No, and this is one of the reasons why this now suggestion to stop, because they say that for the most vulnerable people, so that is young children and elderly, this change, even though it's just a question of 1 hour, can have quite severe consequences. Well, it disturbs your sleep, but it can even have an effect on the number of cardiac arrests so apparently the number of cardiac arrests goes up just the week after the change we turn back the clock.
Wow.
Yes. Well, I did not check these numbers, but this is what some studies have shown. But of course, the reason why we started this in the first place was a French. Apparently, the French came up with it from the beginning. In the 1970s, during the oil crisis, it was a question of trying to actually save money at the end of the day, to use then the sunlight of the day, and not use energy to light up and use, for the industry, etc. But what many are saying that nowadays, with the low energy lighting bulbs, etc., it doesn't cost that much to light up 1 hour more in the morning or in the evening. So we don't need, and the cost when it comes to the health, for example, it's much higher. It's much higher than the money you save.
So it will be summertime, according to the French, but it's a Europe-wide consultation. And the result of the French consultation will be passed on to the European authorities, but the online vote is not binding. And the Commission and the European Parliament, they hope to make a final decision about the future of daylight savings time in 2021. So we still have this year to change the clocks in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, on March 31, and then probably next year again. And then maybe after that,
it's all over. Summer.
Winter is coming.
And now finally, a sweet story to end this edition. Maybe you, as a listener, dear listener, you were not aware, but there has been a war raging here in France. For decades. And it involves a very beloved French delicacy, the pain au chocolat, or should we say...
Chocolatine. But I always say, what do you always say?
I say pain au chocolat.
Oh, yeah, me too, always.
And I tried to teach you a Swedish expression earlier. It's called kärt barn har många namn. In Sweden, we say there's something that you love, you can call by many, many names. And this goes very well in this story. Anyways, this is the croissant-like pastry. If you come from the south, especially from the southwest, it would go by the name of chocolatine.
Yeah.
But if you're from the rest of the country, especially from the north, it would go by the name of pain au chocolat.
But I think actually people in the north don't really care, and it's a real deal for the southwest. It's almost
true.
Like a religion.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. They're much more, they're really defending the chocolatine in the southwest than because it's already been, the war is already won. But the question of what to call this pastry even went as far as the French National Assembly last year, because there were a bunch of MPs who put forward a proposition to protect the name chocolatine. It didn't go very far, and it was rejected. And now, this war has been ongoing between the two names, and France's Bakers Federation. Just that name.
Very serious organization. In a country that takes bread very seriously.
Well, they decided to go all the way, to get the real answer to this. And they ordered a poll. And what did they come up with?
Well, it's pain au chocolat. 84% of the French, they say pain au chocolat. So, not a lot of people say chocolatine, except for, indeed, the southwest, Nouvelle-Aquitaine, the region. There, 63% of the people say chocolatine. So they're it's like a village of Asterix and Obelix. They resist. Nobody says chocolatine, but they do.
But good to know if you're going on holiday or somewhere around the Bordeaux region, or don't be surprised if they will look. If you ask for pain au chocolat and they will tell you that they only have chocolatine available.
Yeah, you know what I always order in Bretagne when I'm there?
No.
Queen Amman. Have you ever eaten that?
No, I don't know.
That's delicious. And they only have it in Bretagne. Queen Amman. It's like a very sweet, sugary, sticky cake. So that's how I avoid this very, very dangerous issue of chocolatine and pain au chocolat.
And that was today's tip from Stéphane on what to order next time you go to French boulangerie.
Yeah. Actually, you see it more and more in Paris, the Queen Amman. So there's a sort of Britain invasion from this delicacy. Maybe one day it will replace the chocolatine or the pain au chocolat. I don't know. But if you've never eaten it, order Queen Amman. It's really, really delicious.
Now, with this, we wrap up this edition of So French. We hope you have enjoyed it. Please follow us on Twitter. It's @SoFrenchNews. And you can listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and even on YouTube. And if you would like to contact us, please mail us on news@sofrench.news.
Don't forget to rate us in iTunes and please leave a review. And if you are in Paris, you can also listen to us on air on World Radio Paris, the station with a lot of excellent shows in English.
And if you like French music, check out our free playlist on Spotify, which we update regularly. Just search for So French Music or click the link on our website.
We'll be back in 2 weeks with a new episode of So French.
We hope you will join us then. Thank you for listening.
Au revoir.